Good afternoon. Jeez, bro. Yeah, you're not kidding. Wow. My name is John Caverly. I'm the superintendent of schools, and thank you all for joining us today. I have an opportunity to honor Coach Matt Ricks. We're all fortunate that Matt isn't in incognito today, like a wrestling meet that happened many years ago, where he might have been escorted out of and returned later in costume, but we're fortunate we can see him in the flesh right now. I promise it won't be a roast, but we just want to start it off well for you. Why are we doing this? We are blessed in this community to have Matt Ricks affect all of our lives in so many ways. When I became superintendent, it was really important to me to honor our alumni and our coaches and our teachers who made a difference in this district, and there's no better person to start with than Matt Ricks. I'd like to thank a few people who made this day possible. Terry Leach for putting together all the refreshments, Mr. Buzzle, Mr. Hughes, and Tom Howarth all did an incredible amount of work to make this day possible. I'd like to thank the Board of Directors for allowing this to happen and voting unanimously to make sure we name this facility after Matt. And then Teresa, thank you for your support with everything. Thank you for supporting Matthew, and thank you for supporting this community. Coach is no secret sauce. It's not about who has the best double leg takedown or who can stop the head and arm from the guys from Noble. It's about you taking people and taking young people and making them feel good about themselves, giving them a place to belong, developing self-confidence, and becoming young adults. Matt, you created a safe place and impacted thousands of lives in your time at Marshwood and across the state of Maine. It's a legacy not easily followed. From the Marshwood School Department, we thank you. On a personal note, as a dad of a wrestler, thank you for helping my son find his why, teaching him that sometimes life is hard and it's not easy, but you keep going forward no matter what. And thank you for making him his best self. I'd like now to introduce Mr. Todd Hughes, who has some words he'd like to share.
Thank you, Mr. Caverly. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody here to Marshwood for our celebration for Matt. My name is Rich Buzzle. I'm the athletic administrator here at Marshwood. And again, like John had said, there were a lot of people that made this happen. I want to thank John for taking it to the board, for allowing them to pass it. Todd Hughes, Tommy Howarth, Teresa for all the work that we did behind the scenes. And there's a few things I learned about Matt. I thought I knew a lot until I talked to Teresa. I didn't know Matt was a chess player. And I don't know if you guys knew, Matt was definitely a chess player with other wrestling coaches and how he managed the meets. But I think you need to let Teresa win a few times. She hasn't beaten Matt in 11 years in chess, so keep trying. You're going to do it. I got to tell you a quick story about my first meeting with Coach Ricks. As you can imagine, it was at a wrestling meet. The year was 1994, and I was in my first year as an AD at Trape Academy. In a quad matchup with York, Wells, Marshwood, and Trape. Welcome to wrestling. My only recollection of Matt at the time, when he was this outstanding wrestling coach from Marshwood, and someone in school that was really familiar with wrestling said to me, and I quote, "Do yourself a favor in your first wrestling meet of your career. Whatever you do, don't make Matt mad." And I'm thinking, God, this is a great way to start. I was nervous as heck already about being my first meet and not making someone mad, and I have to go through this. But after we had all the coaches that arrived, we used to have a pre-match meeting every year, especially for quad matches. The only coach that came up to me was Coach Ricks. And he said, "I know you're new. You let me know if I can help you in any way." For those of you that know Matt, and I really didn't at the time, this is exactly who he is. He is always concerned for others and would do whatever he could to help someone. Fast forward 10 years, and I was waiting for my interview at Marshwood to become the athletic director. I'm in the principal's waiting room, and in comes, who else? Coach Ricks. He just looked at me, shook my hand, said good luck, and he would very much love to work with me. Again, he instantly set my mind at ease in a very nerve-filled moment. Marshwood has had some legendary coaches lead our kids, and I've seen plenty of athletes come in here tonight, so thank you for being here. As I said when I spoke about Rod Watton about a year and a half ago, when the name Marshwood's mentioned, it's quite often that either Rod Watton or Matt Ricks is the name following shortly thereafter. Matt will forever be entwined with the purple and white of Marshwood lore. Matt has a gift. He pulls others in and lifts them up when they need it the most, myself included. The lives that Matt has impacted in his 61 years on this earth is immeasurable. I'm sorry I gave away your birthday. Matt created a world of values through hard work and extreme effort. Matt would not accept anything less, and our kids were better for it. Great coaches are there for their athletes in the moments of greatest struggle, and that's because they figured out a way into the athlete's heart and soul. Matt did that for so many people that went through our district. It's with great honor that we take today to dedicate the new Marshwood High School Wrestling Center to honor a man who gave everything to us in his tenure at Marshwood. I had Matt come to our football game last night, and I had Ernie Wood, who's been a long-time announcer for us, read off some of Matt's accolades. And I know some of you are familiar with them, but it's amazing what Matt has done in his tenure here. Matt was the wrestling coach from 1985 to 2018. He has a dual meet record of 624 wins, 129 losses, and 5 ties. Matt won a total of 10 team state championships, 6 in A and 4 in B. Many of these state champions are sitting in here today. There were 13 regional titles along the way, 91 tournament victories, 85 individual state champions, 60 New England qualifiers, 21 New England place finishers, including a 1 sole New England champion, 5 national All-Americans. He was named the National Wrestling Coach Association of the Year and for Maine 10 times. He was Portland Press Herald's All Sports Coach of the Year in 2018. He was inducted into the Maine Wrestling Hall of Fame and has been a 2-time Maine Wrestling Hall of Fame, Maine Wrestling Coach of the Year. And he was recently inducted into the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame. Matt established our Marshwood Youth Program, our Marshwood Junior High Program, Elliott South Berwick Wrestling Association, the Southern Maine Trappers Club. He established and ran Marshwood New England Youth Classic for 30 years. It is unbelievable what Matt has done with his paintbrush at Marshwood. Matt, I can't thank you enough for being there for us all. You've been one of my great mentors here as well. I'm going to turn it over to Todd Hughes for a few words, and then Matt's going to get a chance to speak. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, public speaking, as a lot of you know, isn't my forte, but here I go. When I was asked to speak here this afternoon about Matt, all the great memories of the past 40 years flooded in my mind. I started to write those memories down and realized I could actually write a 1,000-page book. So what I decided to do is describe a few of these memories on how our relationship started and kept growing throughout the years. I know this is specific to me, but I can safely say by looking at the crowd, I'm also speaking for hundreds of people that Matt has touched as a coach and best friend. First time I met Matt was in 7th grade. We had to sign up for an intramural that was during the last period of the school day. We had all kinds of choices that were academic, and at the time I wasn't really into that. Then I happened to see something that said wrestling. My mind went right to WWF. So I signed up. I showed up to the classroom where these old green mats were on the ground, and this guy, Coach Ricks, welcomed me right in, along with 10 other guys. We all quickly realized that this was not WWF. And after the first few lessons, I thought this was awesome. We have a Coach Ricks person that wants us to beat up on each other, and it's during the school day, and we can't get in trouble. I also believe this is the day that Coach Ricks' legacy as a coach, community member, and friend, and close friend truly started. The first tournament that Matt brought us to, a few of us to, was that same year. It was a high school JV wrestling tournament. we weren't supposed to do that well, being that we're only 7th and 8th graders. And as a matter of fact, we didn't have uniforms. And I remember him saying that the other kids are going to be even more scared because we look like we're ready to scrap. I think this was the first time the other coaches also figured out that Matt was going to be a coach to watch out for in the future. Because I believe 3 or 4 of us, as 7th and 8th graders, placed in the top 4. The next memory that I'd like to share would be during my sophomore year. I happened to choose a weight that was great at the beginning of the year, but was a little hard to make towards the end of the year. I'd like to claim it was a growth spurt, but in reality, I like to eat, and I waited too long to cut weight. Well, that came back to bite me. I missed weight during one of our meets. I know Matt was not happy about that, and he could have held me out altogether that night. Instead, he sat me down and explained how this was a good life lesson. He also then, in great detail, described how I would do better with watching what I eat and maintaining my weight. He did let me wrestle because I had so many relatives show up that one night, which I believe at the time was to make me understand that he wasn't upset and that he could help me the rest of the year maintain my weight. He wasn't joking. The next tournament was a regional tournament. He kept an eye on me really close all week long. He even had me sleep at his house so we could work out and make sure I was going to make weight, but also to make sure I had something in my stomach, which was stewed tomatoes. To this day, I hate tomatoes. Next, I got to be coached by Matt's side for many years. By this time in our lives, we'd built such a great friendship that our families had become more than just coach or colleague. I knew his whole family like they were part of my family. I'd watch his kids when he needed to get a night out. We would go to birthday parties and family outings. This is when I realized that the true commitment that Matt and his family had for this sport and the young individuals helped become respectable people. The wrestlers just became part of Matt's whole family. The memory that describes this the most, besides him spending hours in the wrestling room, Thanksgiving and Christmas evenings playing basketball just so we, who wanted to, could get a workout, going to endless meetings, setting up schedules, and dealing with administration, would be that after many of our practices, he would stay after in the locker room and just talk to everybody about different life events or tell stories of some of the stuff we used to do. There would be times that we'd be laughing so hard the tears would be running down our faces. And this never stopped throughout the years of him coaching. The reason I know this is he continued to do this because I got to witness when he started coaching many second-generation wrestlers, one of them being my son. I remember leaving practice one day, and my son, Cody, who was a freshman, decided to stay behind. He said that he and a few other wrestlers needed to help one of the other wrestlers make weight. Well, 1 hour turned to 2, turned to 3. And we as parents finally called Cody to see if everything was all right. He was laughing hysterically and said yes, that coach and the others were just talking and telling a few stories. When he got home, he asked if a few of the things they had talked about actually happened. Example, Matt, I might have gotten a lot of mud on your wrestling jacket, brand new, because somehow I got really muddy. Sorry about that. Even though Matt had told some of my not so good moments, I was once again excited that he was giving my son all the lessons many of us received while he built a dynasty for the Marshwood Wrestling program. I know I'm speaking for myself and many others in that I was very lucky because I did not just have my family that supported me through those years. I had additional coach, father figure, best friend that I met that day when I met Matt Ricks. Naming the Matt Ricks Wrestling Center after you is such a small token from the school compared to what you've done for this community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. And some of you may know this, but Todd really brings a unique perspective because Todd was Matt's first 100-win wrestler, first state champion that Matt had, coached along with him, and then his son got a chance to compete on Matt's team. So Todd really brings a unique perspective. So thank you for Todd. At this time, without further ado, we'd like to have Matt come up, our guest of honor tonight, to say a few words. So, Coach Ricks.
Thank you, Rich, Mr. Cavali, and Todd. Appreciate your kind words and memories from the past. Thanks for not getting too in-depth in some of them. I appreciate it. I asked Rich the other day, I said, am I going to have to give a speech for this? Or is this, he goes, well, you know, you can speak if you want to, but, you know, just speak from your heart. It doesn't have to be that long. And so I got to thinking, there's so many people that I need to thank. And I said, I'm going to talk to Abel about that last night. And he goes, you don't need to thank anybody. I said, they need to thank you. It's like, oh, okay, perfect. Well, I won't thank anybody then. But I can't do that. Before I start my thank yous, I made a little list of some things that remind me of my wrestling years and just little things that keep popping into my head of little quirks from year to year. And it's not going to mean anything to a lot of you, but some individuals it will. And the running of the stairs in the halls and Cody Lightfoot. The infamous stage work that the kids that were at the new high school didn't get an opportunity to experience the efforts and the sweat that actually went into what the stage work was all about. And we did what we could at the old high school to modify our workouts and to make them interesting and changing. So one day our mats were always stored on the stage at the time. So one of them unrolled once and fell over the side, and I was like, huh. Started doing sit-ups on the edge of the stage, and then we turned it into partner. You hold your feet, and they go over the edge of the stage, and then we did the side stuff, and then the back, and then we started doing weights, and it started, it's fun at first, and then it turned into, not so much fun, but it was a good workout, and we took advantage of every opportunity that we could down at the old high school. Setting up for the home meets and tournaments, the long bus rides, Thunderstruck, Zemla, Jim Doobie. Jim Doobie's fill-in for heavyweight for one match. We needed a heavyweight. We were neck and neck with Kenny Bonk, and we were headed to a dual meet there, and I got him on the roster that right at the last minute, got him certified, and Jim, this was for heavyweight, and he was going up an experienced kid. We were hoping we'd just get him out there and not get pinned. So the first thing big Jim Doobie does is go out there, grabs the guy by the back of the head and headbutts him. And like, Jim, this isn't how it works. So, needless to say, he wound up getting pinned, but here he is on the list. We had some amazing dual meets with Timberlane. One time we were at Kennebunk, we wound up beating their winning streak, and Roger made sure of that. And we had another dual meet down at Timberlane. And when Timberlane has a home dual meet, they prepare. They tailgate, they get ready, the fans get ready, and the gym is packed. So we had a very competitive team. It was pretty much the same team that had beaten them earlier a few years ago, but we were still a very competitive team. And we were getting ready in the locker room, getting the kids fired up, and Jamie Bowen, little spitfire of thunder and lightning, is the first one out the door, pushes the locker room door open right into the athletic director and knocks him out. And the team continues running over him as we go to do our exercises. So that's kind of how we started that dual meet. Funny you bring up chess. It was my infamous chess matches with Kip Duvall, just moving chess pieces around. Our hide and seek on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and Cody's unexpected trip to the hospital. Vision quest, visualization, our basketball games, on Thanksgiving and Christmas that wasn't a lot of basketball involved in it, but we kind of made our own version of basketball. But we were allowed to travel a little bit and a little hands-on. It got heated quite often, but we got a workout out of it, and that was the whole point of it. Mike Mahoney's roll of quarters. 5-minute breaks from Michael Baby. And the bands in the Bulgarian bags. I'll never forget. Those are just a few things I thought about. I'm glad you mentioned my dress up. I didn't want to get into that too much, but I could share a little bit of that. Now that I'm kind of out of the hot seat, so this is the one, I'll just share this one story. So there was a regional tournament, and we had a very questionable pin that was called. Back was like this far off the mat. It was not pinned. I'm not going to get into it, but it was just kind of the same conversation that I had with the official, and he just wasn't seeing it my way. So I was asked to step outside and watch the rest of the wrestling tournament from the other side of the door. So when that happens, you're not allowed to compete in the next event, which happened to be our state tournament. So that was a really hard pill to swallow for myself, but it was an eye-opener for me as well. So I had written some apology letters that week to the official, and he took my apologies, but it still wasn't happening. So Dr. Ward, the principal at the time, had a wrestling background, so he wound up filling in for me. And the seniors that year were very close kids and had a great opportunity to win states, and they were very upset that I wasn't going to be there. So it really bothered me. So I kept telling them, I said, don't you worry. I said, I'll be there. I'll watch. So I wasn't even allowed in the gym that day. So I had to come up with a little disguise. So, of course, I shaved my eyebrows because that would be the first thing that would give it away. And I shaved my mustache, and I put this old hat on, and an old flannel shirt, and a cane, and I carried a tripod with a camera on it, and I'm just waiting in line to pay my ticket because I'm sweating. I get this hat on, sweat running down and so just as I'm getting ready to pay my ticket, they clear in the gym. Here comes Marshwood, walking right past me. Dr. Ward, all the kids. and I'm looking straight ahead, and I catch eyes with Dr. Ward, and I don't know to this day if he knew it was me, but he gave me a nod. I gave him one back. And as soon as I got into the gym, I headed right to the top of the bleachers. I set my camera up. I felt like the guy from Home Alone? You look over the fence and you just see this. So I had my camera set up, and I wasn't even taping. It was just a prop. And this guy beside me, who I coached his son in trappers, he's looking at me. He keeps looking at me. So I start talking to him like, why wouldn't he know who I am? So we carry on a conversation, and so the tournament goes on. Now it's like 2 o'clock into the semifinals, and Matty was there, so my kids knew what I was doing, and Matty, I'd see him every now and then. He'd walk down in front of the bleachers, and he'd be going like. So I got a call so at around 2 o'clock, semifinals, and I had to go to the bathroom really bad. So I said, I had to get out of here. So I got out, and I went to the bathroom. I wound up coming back, and the guy next to me finally goes, "Oh, I know who you are now." So he had no idea who I was the whole time we were talking. So I got word. He says the word's out that you're in here, and then I see Kip looking around, looking up in the stands, and Rick DeRoche from Massabesic. They're looking. I was like, "Oh yeah." I said, "The heat's on now." So I wound up leaving, and they were even after I left, they would continue looking for me because they thought I was in there. So I didn't make the finals, but at least I did get to see some of the matches there. So that's a little story. I haven't shared that story with a lot of people, but figured I would give you at least one of many. So, Rich, I'd like to thank you for your many years of support as athletic director. They were pivotal in my success as a coach here at Marshwood. Your guidance and your mentoring were much appreciated, as well as your encouraging my growth in anger management and online classes. Your flexibility and freedom to let me coach as I saw fit, whether it be a practice or scheduling out-of-state tournaments that included overnight stays, were instrumental in helping our team peak at the right time. Your trust in me to keep things under control while we were away was very important. Those times were integral to our team building while we were on the very long bus trips to Vermont, especially when Joyce Bershey was driving, because she liked to take the scenic route, as she liked to call it, but I like to call it getting lost. And Joycey, having been a parent of a wrestler, had a passion for the sport, so much so that at the beginning of the season of 2013, I made a bet with her that we were going to win states. And when she considered letting me cut her ponytail off, and she agreed. So fast forward to the morning of 2013 as the bus pulls into Sanford Memorial Gym. So this team was so ready and fired up. I stood up, gave my normal pep talk, and then as the team got up, ready to get off the bus to compete at states, to everyone's surprise, I turned around and cut off her 12-inch ponytail in advance of the state championship. I held this up to the team, to the guys, and they went wild because they knew that I knew what was about to happen. She looked at me and gave me a big grin and said, "You better win." I kept that ponytail close all day. When she passed away, I passed on the ponytail to her granddaughter. She kind of looked at me a little weird, like, what's that? But rest in peace, Joycey. And along with that, after that, week after that, she didn't have to do anything to her hair. She had a nice short bob. And she said, you know what? I actually like it. So, and with that, I'd also like to, I'd like to thank all the bus drivers, not just Joycey, but Mr. Reddy Marker, Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Gallant, and others who were also all great supporters of the team in many ways by keeping the heat on when we needed it to lose weight, occasional jump rope or jumping jacks in the aisle, push-ups, sit-ups when needed, and occasionally let me walk up and down the aisles when we needed, give a little pep talk at the end of the night, either consoling or a congratulatory or checking on an occasional lunchbox to make sure there was nothing in there that was supposed to be. My list of people to thank are endless, as I did not get here alone. I know I'm going to forget some names of people to thank, but please know that I'm grateful for each and every one of you who helped this wrestling program. Thank you to the previous administration of Tom Conrad, who, when I interviewed, I told him that I wanted to bring this program back to a Class A program, and he'd say, you will not, you will leave this, we're a Class B, and we'll always be a Class B. Tom O'Malley, Wes Kennedy, Dr. Ward, Paul Melhorn, and Dr. Mary Nash. Thank you to the many trainers throughout the years who took care of our many injuries and got us back on track as soon as possible. Thank you to the custodians who are always there to help set up and clean up. We always tried to stay on their good side, particularly Frank McCarthy and Pat Schuff. Thank you to the many managers who helped out our teams throughout the years, keeping an accurate scorebook and the clock. I also owe a huge thanks to our booster parents who raised money for our teams and whatever we needed. Dick McKenney, my first booster president who had passed away, was the reason I got my job back in 1984. He was a big advocate for me. There were so many important booster officers that formed a strong organization to support us. Some of these members, key members, were Pat Jakes, Mike Tarr, Margaret Conroy, Joyce Boyle, Dana Melody Hughes, Mark Blake, Dale Pierce, Richard Donhauser, Danny and Diane Buttrick, Maureen and Paul Damaris, Brian Whalen, Fred and Denise Flamia, Rod Loisel, Bob and Sandy McCormick, Bob who developed his own tournament software to make things easier for us, and Sandy McCormick, who we could call on a whim to get a quick physical or a skin note for a quick, maybe a little ringworm that might have popped up that we need to take care of very quick. Jim Howard, Bernie and Linda Petrowski, and her annual Christmas vacation truffle cake. Gary and Joyce Pershey, Mary Emerson, the Butterfields, the Howards, Dave Stacy, Mom and Pa Hebert, Pete Eastman, the Gliddens, the Caverleys, Seamus's grandmother, Joyce Hilton, who knit purple and white hats for every one of us on the team, and has become a tradition, and so many other parents that I would like to thank. Their participation and enthusiasm help support our wrestling team, banquets, fundraisers, and as a result, our teams wanted for nothing. When I formed the youth wrestling program through the Elliott Southpark Recreation, which later became Elliott Southpark Wrestling Association for the Pee Wee wrestlers, I had always hoped that someday the wrestlers from this program would carry the torch. Tom Howarth, Todd Hughes, Jamie Thompson, Mark Moriarty, Paul Damaris, Rod Loisel, Steve Brooks stepped up to coach while I stepped back to continue coaching the junior high program that I had started with the blessing of Jerry Burnell. And thank you to Jerry. And still coach the high school team. And oh yeah, we're still raising 4 kids that also benefited from this program. I'm very happy that my Marshall wrestlers are continuing this trend to give back to the program. Abel Schultz and Maddie Edwards are coaching the Little Hawk wrestling program, a youth wrestling program. Sam Hebert and Seamus McManus are coaching at the Marshall Middle School. Tom Howarth and his two sons, Luke and Jackson, are coaching at the high school. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. You have no idea how much this means to me for you guys to keep this program up and running. A program that I put my heart and soul into for more than half my life. I'm so proud of you. In 1984, as a junior in high school, Tom had called me to come help out the new coach, Steve Patton. Little did Tom realize that he too would be along for the ride. Tom was always there for me in so many ways to help wrestle with the big guys at practice, whose hygiene at the end of practice wasn't always the best. To construct mat storage at the old high school and here, and build practice equipment in my house. And has always been there for me. Thanks, Tom. A few more people I would like to thank. I told you this is a long list. I especially want to thank Mike Corvo for cutting me from the junior high basketball team. You can clap. I was good. I was pretty good. The problem was Elliot South Burke, and then we combined, and I wasn't that good. But he set me on my path. So in the wrestling, I started in Rick Young's 7th period wrestling activity, as Todd had mentioned. I took that idea from him. And it was a classroom where we stacked all the desks up on the side and just put Velcro mats down. And boy, would we go at it. So thank you, Rick, for that. I'd also like to thank my brother Mark, who was wrestling at Marshall High School at beginning stages with Ed Moriarty as the coach who started this program in 1975. My brother would come home and tie me up and twist me up into knots and say, "Isn't this fun?" I said, "I don't know if I thought it was fun, but there was something I knew I wanted to pursue." And I also like to thank my sister, because once my brother left, then the same thing happened to her. They twist her up and took long runs down to the high school, and she had a hard time keeping up, so I just tell her to wait off, and I'll come back around and pick her up on the way back. And so my brother and Elmer Boston took a few of us from Rick Young's 7th grade wrestling activity to a tournament in Lancaster. Said after that, I was hooked. When I was 22 and considered the military, my brother Mark encouraged me to stick with the coaching. I would like to thank my father and my mother for all their support as a wrestler and when I was coaching. My father had hoped to be here today, but he unfortunately passed away last month, but not before he told me how proud he was of me and the man that I had become. I know how much it meant to me to see my parents in the stands while competing. And as a coach, I tried to be very aware of the wrestlers who did not have parents in the stands, to give them that extra encouragement that I had always got from my parents. I would like to thank all who coached with me, as well as wrestling alumni who returned on college breaks to help out. Denny Boston, Shane May, Fred Ricketts, Todd Hughes, Mark Moriarty, Derek Buttrick, Tom Howarth, Pat Howard, Kyle Houghton, Jake Rasquay, and Luke and Jackson Howarth. I also would like to thank Roger Dione. This man embodies the meaning of hard work, determination, and perseverance. Roger started wrestling in junior high at the same time I did. I took Roger under my wing and always made sure that he had a partner to drill with and to work out with. Roger never gave up. When I started coaching, Roger was right there through my entire time of coaching to give back to the program that he had gotten so much out of, keeping all of my stats, wins, losses, lists of state champions, 100 win wrestlers, the Richard Award, team stats, punishment push-ups, and arriving very early mornings with a Dunk's coffee for me. Thank you, Roger. Stand up, please. Now those wins, everything that Rich read off, I didn't have time to do that. And Roger made sure that all happened. I actually had to tone him down a little bit at one time. And he's like, keeping tracks of all the takedowns and first takedown, near fall. I said, Roger, it's too much. We'll just do the wins and losses. I'd like to thank my wife Teresa for all the behind scenes of help. When we started dating, she thought I only had 4 children. She quickly came to realize that I had hundreds. I want to thank the wrestlers from 1975 to 2000 who did time at the old Marshwood High School cafeteria, who never had a wrestling room, who moved the cafeteria, aluminum chairs and tables, mopped the floors, rolled out the mats for practice every day, and then rolled the mats up, placed them on the stage, and then set the cafeteria back up for the next day's practice. It was because of those beginning days of establishing a strong program that convinced the district to embrace the idea of a wrestling room in the new high school. This decision made a huge impact upon us because we had more time on the mat and less time of setup. Dick McKinney did a great job as engineer of the new high school and working in space for this wrestling room. Every year, each team held a special place in my heart. I was always sad to say goodbye to the seniors, but energized by the new freshman class. Each November, I would be excited to look at the wrestling sign-up sheet that was in the office and encouraged by the new prospects and tentatively make out my lineup from that list. But there's always 2 guys that kept showing up on the list that never showed up for practice. I never know what happened to them. Does anyone know who Pat McGruin and Philip McCrevis is? Oh. But seriously, the years from 1999 to 2008 were very special because I was able to coach my 4 children, which contributed to my suggested anger management classes. Thank you, Rich. After I lost my son Matty in 2009, I had decided to retire. The 8th graders who were to be freshmen, as well as the underclassmen, encouraged me to stay on, as well as Todd and Tom Howarth. That fall, I had some very dark days, and these guys helped me through the toughest time of my life. I'd like, thank you for that. You saved me. They too were feeling the loss of Maddie, who had graduated the year before and had wrestled with all of them. We all became very close. Little did I realize when I began coaching at the age of 22 that I would need this support at the age of 47. Over the years, I had come to realize that wrestling wasn't always about wrestling. We had formed a wrestling family throughout my 3 decades of coaching, and many of you have become lifelong friends. Thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to coach you and always doing your best and putting the team first. Thank you all for being here today. It is so nice to see so many wrestlers and their families. I am overwhelmed with gratitude and emotion. Thank you to the many wrestlers who traveled here today. I know it wasn't easy on a Saturday to break away, but thank you, Johnny Jakes, who came from Washington State, and my brother-in-law, Jeff Conroy, who came up from Texas. I know there were others who wanted to make it, that verbally reached out to me. It means everything to me. I've loved coaching the life lessons of wrestling, and thank you for this amazing dedication.
Thank you, Matt. Just one last thing before Mr. Cavalier has some final closing words and we get to go actually tour our great facility that Todd and Tommy helped construct for us and get us ready. Michelle Meyer, who is one of the representatives in our area, made a State of Maine sentiment through the House. And I just want to read that before I give it to Matt. Be it known that all the we members of Senate, House of Representatives join in recognizing Matt Ricks of South Berwick, who was inducted into the New England High School Wrestling Hall of Fame as a coach of the Marshwood High School wrestling team for over 35 years, with 33 years as a head coach. He transformed the program into a Maine and regional power. His teams won 10 state titles, including 6 in Class A, over his last 7 years. We extend our congratulations and best wishes and be it ordered that this official expression of sentiment be sent forthwith on behalf of the 131st Legislature and the people of the state of Maine. Congratulations, Matt.
We would ask that all of you join us. If you could just go out the lower mezzanine door here, walk past the former Learning Center, and we'll go down to the Wrestling Center. Thank you.